And welcome back to another episode of Jacob's Aquarium. Now, of course, my tank looks a little bit more perfect and everything well put together, right? Well, if you look at it about, I would say about maybe 3 days ago, it wasn't like this at all. It was completely cloudy, disgusting looking, just nothing like it is now. And the reason why is because my tank is cycling. Now, for those of you that are new to the aquarium hobby, whenever you first start with an aquarium, the water has to cycle. As I mentioned in the beginning and in the first episode, the aquarium has to cycle, meaning it has to build up the good bacteria. The filter has to start, trying to figure out how it's going to manage all this waste that it's processing, things like that. Also, you may notice that my rock bed is a little bit different than what it was before. Before we had white rock in there. Now we have these nice, smooth looking colored rocks. And I switched them out because the white rock in fact was painted, and for some reason the paint on the white rock leached into my aquarium and turned the water white, which kind of sucked. But between that and the tank cycling, I really couldn't even tell whether my tank was foggy or cloudy because of the tank cycling or because of the rock. So I did a 25% water change and I removed the rock and replaced it with this. Thankfully, I have a father that works in building materials and he was able to get me these rocks for free. Imagine that. Isn't that cool? So I really like these rocks. They're from a river in Mexico, I believe, is where the company that my dad works for gets them from. So they're kind of back in their natural environment where they're, with in water and plants and things like that. So really, the purpose of the rock is so good bacteria can start to build in it. As you can see, there's tons of little crevices and places where the bacteria can crawl in and start to, build. And there are good bacteria and there are bad bacteria, as I'm sure most of you guys know. So what we're looking for is the good bacteria, obviously, and the rock bed really helps create that. But a lot of people out there that have fish tanks prefer to have a bare bottom tank for some reason. I still don't know why. I'm guessing because it looks cleaner, is easier to clean, and just maybe looks more simple. I'm not really sure. But the disadvantage to that is, just like I said, you won't be able to have a rock bed that's getting all that good bacteria that's going to help keep your water nice and clear and, create a really natural little ecosystem inside your tank. So there's a really big disadvantage to that. So what I usually recommend to people that are going to do a bare bottom tank is to in fact get a wet dry filter. The reason why is the wet dry filter has the bile balls in it, and the bile balls are what stores the bacteria. So if you do in fact have a bare bottom tank and you don't have that those little crevices for the bacteria to grow, you will then have a filter that has the bile balls where the bacteria can grow. So you get it either way. So when you have a bare bottom tank or when you want to do an aquarium like that, I'd recommend the wet dry filter because, like I said, bacteria stores in those filters really well. In a power filter like the one I have, you might get some bacteria stored in there, but not so much, especially when you clean the filter, it's all going to be gone. So the bare bottom tank is only with the wet dry filter. If you do it without, you're going to be missing out on a lot of good bacteria that's going to help keep your aquarium very healthy, and it's good for your fish because your fish kind of look like they're back in their natural environment, which is really what you're trying to create when you have an aquarium. You're not trying to create some type of artificial environment. You're trying to create the same place from where your fish came from. You're trying to create a good little ecosystem, like I said. And the rock bed, the plants, and all that stuff really helps create that. So by doing a bare bottom tank, you're just missing out on so much. So in conclusion to this video, when your tank is cycling, you're going to notice a couple things. The cloudy water, your fish are going to kind of be a little stressed out, especially since you're using hardy fish for the cycling, which is the only type of fish I recommend using. Most people make the mistake of buying the fish that they're originally going to keep in the aquarium, like, fancy goldfish or that prized, expensive discus fish, for instance. I mean, who knows? It could be anything, but don't start an aquarium with the fish you're going to keep in there for the aquarium's lifetime, because you might lose the fish during the nitrogen cycle or the cycling of the tank. Buy some fish that you're really not going to care about. It may seem sad, but buy some fish that you're really not going to care about. Buy some fish that are recommended for cycling aquariums. They might have the little placard on next to the tank where you're buying them from the pet store where it says, hardy fish or something like that. Or you can ask the person that works there. But buy aquarium fish that are hardy. Those fish will be able to make it through the cycle and help cycle your aquarium by producing the feces and the urine and all that stuff. That will help get the cycle going. So don't purchase the fish you're going to keep in there for the aquarium's lifetime, because you're going to lose it and you're going to waste a lot of money. So the cloudy water, buy some good cycling fish, hardy fish, and also remember to do a couple water changes. I would recommend at least, maybe I would say once every week while the tank is cycling, which, by the way, it takes about 2 weeks for an average aquarium to cycle of about 10 gallons. Once you step up to the bigger tanks, probably longer than that. But usually the expected time for a tank to completely fully cycle is around 2 weeks. So the cloudy water, buy some hardy fish, do some water changes, make sure your filter is working good also, and make sure your temperatures are stable. Also, don't forget to make sure your pH levels stay the same, and also test your water for ammonia, nitrates, and all that stuff. A testing kit at PetSmart, for instance, costs $13, and it tests for all kinds of stuff, especially the nitrates and nitrates. I have a hard time saying that word. But testing your water will also kind of give you a clue of how far along your aquarium's come, if it's almost there, if it's almost, finished the cycling, stuff like that. So make sure you do all those things and you'll be on your way to creating a beautiful aquarium that you can enjoy for obviously years to come. So thank you for watching this episode of Jacob's Aquarium. I will see you guys next time.